Good evening. You're tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Non-Muslim marriage ceremonies are now allowed under strict SOPs. And we deep dive into the de-gazetting of Kuala Langat North Forest Reserve. That's coming up. Malaysia recorded 2,253 new COVID-19 cases and 11 fatalities today. States with the highest reported cases are Selangor with 633 new cases, followed by Perak, Johor and Kuala Lumpur.
Meanwhile, Coordinating Minister for the National COVID-19 Immunization Program, Khairi Jamaluddin, said as many as 1 million individuals have registered as vaccine recipients on the My Sejahtera app. You can also register online on www.vaccinecovid.gov.my. For manual registration, the public can register by calling the hotline or attending the facilities of public and private health clinics or through assistance program for residents in rural areas.
Senior Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob received his first dose of Pfizer's Comirnaty vaccine today. Other than him, Deputy Defence Minister Datuk Seri Ikmal Hisham Abdul Aziz and Defence Ministry Secretary General Datuk Seri Muiz Abdul Aziz also received their vaccine shots.
Next in line is the Malaysian Armed Forces involved in operations and foreign missions such as Op Binting and Op Penawar. Among other politicians to receive the jab today were Minister in the Prime Minister's Department in charge of Religious Affairs, Datuk Seri Zulkifli Muhammad Al-Bakri, Agriculture and Food Industries Minister, Datuk Seri Ronald Kiandi, and MB Terengganu, Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Samsuri Mukhtar. Over in Sarawak, Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg alongside 3 members of the media who were among the first 132 frontliners outside the healthcare sector to be inoculated today. A total of 13 journalists were selected through the Federation of Sarawak Journalists Association to begin Sarawak's vaccination program.
Effective today, marriage ceremonies for non-Muslims can now be held at the National Registration Department, places of worship and non-Muslims Religious Association premises in areas placed under MCO, CMCO and RMCO. However, marriage ceremonies in areas placed under the Enhanced MCO or EMCO are still not allowed.
In a statement today, the National Registration Department NRD said the decision was made by the government to enable the delayed non-Muslim marriage ceremonies to take place during this period. SOPs include no more than 10 people allowed, including the marriage registrar for marriage registration at the NRD. As for marriage ceremonies at places of worship and religious association premises, the number of guests should not exceed 10 people in MCO areas, a maximum of 20 attendees for areas under CMCO, and 30 people or less in RMCO areas. However, the SOPs are subject to the size of the premises, and no social events are allowed during marriage registrations.
Across the world, COVID-19 has disrupted regular life, forcing daily routines to change, including what we eat and what we do to maintain our physical health. A recent study by Ipsos Malaysia found that while weight gain has been a common result for many around the world, many Malaysians are actually getting leaner. Here are their findings.
Based on a survey done by 22,008 adults aged 16 to 74 across 30 countries between October to November, 36% of people in Malaysia have lost weight as compared to only 19% who have gained weight. This trend is a direct opposite to the global country average. More Malaysians have also increased their level of exercise similar to the rest of the world. Exercise is the most common action taken to lose weight, as well as cutting down on sugary drinks and dieting.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Selangor Forestry Department is under pressure for its proposal to de-gazette 931 hectares or 97% of what's left of the Kuala Langat North Forest Reserve. The move announced by Selangor MB Datuk Seri Amiruddin Shahri February last year was rejected by NGOs, MPs and members of the public with 45,000 signed online petitions. Why is this forest so important and what is the impact of de-gazetting it? Saraya Mia has the story.
I am at the Kuala North Forest Reserve, a critical peat swamp forest that lost 90% of its original state since gazetted in 1920s. The Selangor Forestry Department proposed to de-gazette almost all of the 10% of what's left for development. Now, here is what you need to know about this peat swamp forest. The Kuala North Forest Reserve is an 8,000-year-old peat swamp forest, home to over 2,000 orang asli temuan and endangered species such as the Malayan sun bear, Selangor pygmy flying squirrel, and langat red fighting fish. The forest is 7,247 hectares in size when it was gazetted as a forest reserve in 1927. Now, only 10% is all there is left. According to farmer Pujon Abu of the Orang Asli Temuan community, it would be devastating to be displaced again. His family were among those displaced from their original land that was developed into Kuala Lumpur International Airport in 1995.
Masa tu nak cakap saya budak lagi lah. Budak lagi masa tu, mungkin dalam umur mungkin 12 tahun lah. Masa dulu dekat kampung lama, kampung dekat Kerala, dekat Sepang dulu, kampung sana memang cantik. Cantik, indah. Lagi kawasan dia pokok-pokok orang tua yang dulu tanam tu kan. Semua kalau ada pokok durian apa buah cantik-cantik semua sana. Memang cantik dekat sana. Lagipun hidup kat sana dekat Kelai Sepang tu memang boleh dicakapkan tak sama dengan kampung yang baru pindah ke sini. Dah pindah sini memang dah payahlah. Ya sebab sini pun kampung tanah baru tembok. Jadi pokok-pokok pun ni pun baru nampak besar. Dia pun dah 20 tahun lebih. Macam tu.
He said it was hard for them to build their lives again in a new place.
Oh, memang kecewa tu nak cakap, tak dapat nak bayangkan lah. Memang kecewa sangatlah. Sebab kita duduk sini pun mula-mula masa pemindahan memang nak jalan masuk ke kampung pun payah. Rumah ni tak ada ni, tamak ni semua tak ada. Semua tanah tambak merah. Daripada tadi cik mungkin ada perasan daripada sebelum sekolah tu nak masuk daripada kampung jiran sebelah tu nak sampai ke kampung sini, tanah selut sampai sini. Berlumpur semua jalan-jalan ni. Lagi dengar kalau dah musim hujan banjir, kereta semua parking dekat pangkal jalan sana. Tak boleh nak masuk ke kampung. Semua jalan kaki.
According to Kuasa activist Shakila Zen, removing the remaining forests from the protected list will have a huge impact on the environment and may cause disasters such as flooding in nearby areas to worsen.
This hutan simpan Kuala Utara is very important because it is peat swamp land, and it can restore up to 4% carbon dioxide, which is when we see this location is actually betul-betul sebelah Putrajaya, which is very very near to Putrajaya, and we need something, or we need some sponge to absorb all the carbon process in this. And from that, I think this forest is doing a very good job for restoring ataupun we say as tadahan hujan. Yeah, so when we lost this 10% of this forest, I think the whole Selangor will face with a lot of more climate crisis.
Moving forward, Shakila suggests absolute power of state chief ministers on land and natural resources be taken away to avoid further degazettement of forest reserves.
Everything about land, water and something about that states belongs to MB. So whichever MB want to degazette or want to replace the status of some land, so they can do it without proper discussion with local communities, without proper discussion with everyone involved, including NGO. But luckily in Selangor we have public hearing. But what I see here is even we have public hearing, we collect all the voices from various people, from all the citizens of Selangor or even outside of Selangor. MB still have their own stand, and I don't know what else we should do. And this is why I said we have to lessen the power of the MB, because we already have democracy alam sekitar, which is we have health and public hearing. We have we already look at 45,000 petitions being signed, 11,000 email being sent to MB, but still he still don't have the urge to cancel this gazettement.
On to international news with further updates in Myanmar. Britain slapped further sanctions on Myanmar's generals for human rights violation. World Bank has also said it would not process requests for funds made after the February 1st coup.
Britain's Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab announced further sanctions on 6 generals, including Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief Senior Gen Min Aung Hlaing. This came after an imposed sanctions on 3 generals last week. Meanwhile, in a letter to Myanmar's Finance Ministry, the World Bank has halted payments to projects in Myanmar on withdrawal requests that were made after February 1st coup. Protests against the military coup resumed on Friday across Myanmar, despite growing intimidation from secondary forces and pro-junta groups the day before. Anti-coup protesters demand the release of civilian leaders and a return to democracy.
Thailand will kick off its vaccination drive on Sunday, with Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha being the first to receive the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine.
Meanwhile, his deputy Anutin Chanvirakul and Deputy Public Health Minister Suthit Pituticha will receive China's Sinovac vaccine on the same day, followed by priority groups in targeted provinces starting Monday. Thailand received 317,600 doses of Sinovac and Oxford vaccines on Wednesday and will receive another 1.8 million doses in March and April. The country would also manufacture 61 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccines locally that will be available from May to June. The country reported 45 new COVID-19 cases today, raising the total COVID-19 cases to 25,809.
Oxford University is investigating a cyber hack after evidence found that a laboratory researching COVID-19 had been compromised. Screenshots from inside the lab's network left by the hackers were found on an unsecured server.
The breach took place in mid-February and occurred at the Division of Structural Biology known as STRUBI, which has been carrying out research into COVID-19. An Oxford spokesperson said they have identified and contained the problem and are now investigating further. He also added that there has been no impact on any clinical research as this was not conducted in the affected area. Digital espionage targeting health bodies, vaccine scientists and drug makers has surged during the COVID-19 pandemic.
46 days after the YDPA agreed to emergency rule and Parliament suspended, His Majesty issued a clarification that the House can in fact convene. Follow the discussion on Consider This tonight. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Farhana Sheh. We'll see you next week.